Disclaimer: the information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, nutrition, or supplement regimen. The very glass of milk you drink or the egg you eat every single morning to maintain your strength after 60 might be quietly accelerating the death of your muscle tissue. It sounds terrifying, almost cruel, because you are doing exactly what you were told to do by well-meaning health guides. You are trying to survive, trying to retain your dignity, and trying to stay fiercely independent. Yet beneath the skin, your body is playing a completely different silent game that works directly against your efforts. Welcome to ElderFit Nutrition. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. The fundamental tragedy of modern aging is that our healthcare system is perfectly designed to catch you after you fall, rush you to surgery, and manage your frailty once it becomes a crisis. But it remains utterly blind and silent regarding the slow, invisible erosion that causes you to lose your balance, your stability, and your physical freedom in the first place. This systemic oversight sits in a profound gap that standard medical professionals simply do not have the time to articulate in a hurried 12-minute consultation. Millions of dedicated seniors over 60 are faithfully consuming protein, joining walking clubs, and fighting with every ounce of their willpower to stay active. They look in the mirror and believe they are building a strong shield against the vulnerabilities of old age. But here is the disturbing reality that almost no one addresses. After you cross the threshold of 60, your body shifts its internal architecture entirely. It erects an invisible biological barrier that completely alters how you process every single gram of nourishment, without one specific, hidden biological trigger. A nutritional catalyst that an overwhelming majority of seniors are completely deficient in. The protein you consume has absolutely no ability to find its way into your fading muscle fibers. Instead of rebuilding your strength, it drifts uselessly through your bloodstream, forcing your kidneys to work overtime to filter it out, or quietly storing itself as toxic visceral fat around your vital organs. Physical therapists and mobility specialists who evaluate seniors often describe a shocking, heartbreaking phenomenon. Thighs and calves that should be dense, protective, and resilient have transitioned into a soft, marbleized tissue where healthy muscle fibers have been systematically replaced by silent layers of fat. The legs literally transform into hollow pillars, mimicking strength on the outside while rotting away on the inside, completely unable to support the weight of the rich life you still want to live. You are shrinking from the inside out, eating well but starving on a cellular level. Stay with me, because by the end of this discussion, you will understand the deep structural reality of your physical strength better than most people who have never heard this explained. And you will know precisely how to halt this decay tonight. Before we unveil the exact molecular mechanism and the precise nutritional key to reversing this loss, take a brief moment to subscribe to ElderFit Nutrition and turn on notifications. Your subscription gives us the vital momentum needed to keep researching and producing these deep, honest, evidence-based health truths that every person over 60 deserves to have. Now, before we look deeper into the biological trap, consider this reflective question carefully. Think about your own body over the last few years. When you notice a decline in your stamina or a loss of firmness in your legs, what do you honestly believe is the root cause? Comment below with either A or B. Choose A if you believe it is simply an inevitable, natural part of aging that we must accept, or choose B if you believe it is a hidden breakdown in how your body handles nutrition that can be actively fixed. Please drop your answer in the comment section right now, because your insights help us expose how widespread this silent gap truly is. To genuinely stop your muscles from wasting away and reclaim the vitality that is rightfully yours, you must look past the superficial advice of simply eating more food and descend into the microscopic reality of your cells. Without understanding the profound scientific reason why your body is actively rejecting your dietary efforts, any change you try to make will feel like an exhausting uphill battle that you will ultimately abandon in a matter of weeks. The underlying culprit is a harsh biological mutation that locks down your metabolism after 60, a state known in clinical research as anabolic resistance. To visualize this, think of your muscle cells not as passive sponges, but as highly secure vaults containing the intricate machinery of your physical strength. When you were 30 years old, the doors to these cellular vaults were perfectly oiled, responsive, and wide open. Every single time you consumed a piece of chicken, a portion of fish, or a handful of nuts, the resulting amino acids flooded your bloodstream, easily glided through those open doors, and were instantaneously woven into dense, powerful muscle tissue. But as the decades pass, the biochemical environment undergoes a drastic and unforgiving shift. The receptors lining your muscle cell membranes become heavily calloused, functioning like ancient iron locks that are deeply rusted and jammed completely shut. You can faithfully consume what society considers a healthy, protein-rich meal, but the vital amino acids will simply bounce off the closed doors of your muscle tissue, floating aimlessly with nowhere to go. This is the tragic, silent irony of anabolic resistance. Your blood can be rich with expensive nutrients, yet your muscles are literally starving to death in a sea of absolute plenty. When these amino acids are locked out, they are completely unable to signal the master switch of human tissue growth, a complex intracellular pathway known to science as mTOR. In a youthful body, the mTOR pathway responds to even microscopic amounts of protein, immediately signaling the cell to repair its structures and grow stronger. In a body over 60, however, that switch becomes paralyzed. It no longer registers normal nutritional signals. It requires a massive, highly coordinated molecular sledgehammer to force the mechanism to turn on. The critical component of that sledgehammer is an exceptionally specific amino acid called leucine. Leucine does not behave like ordinary protein building blocks. It acts as an aggressive biochemical key that physically overrides the rusted lock of the mTOR pathway. Tragically, the light, fragmented meals typically consumed by seniors rarely contain enough concentrated leucine to reach what clinical research calls the leucine threshold. If your meal falls even a single milligram short of this critical threshold, the cellular vault remains completely deadbolted, and the entire process of muscle synthesis stays entirely dormant. Compounding this disaster is the structural rigidity of the cell wall itself, which loses its youthful flexibility over time. This is why high-dose omega-3 fatty acids become an absolute, non-negotiable partner in this fight. They embed themselves directly into the stiff lipid bilayer of the muscle cell membrane, restoring its fluid elasticity so the lock can actually turn when the leucine key arrives. Without this dual strategy, your body faces a desperate internal energy crisis. To protect your brain and heart, it begins to ruthlessly harvest amino acids by dismantling the very muscles that allow you to walk, stand, and hold your loved ones, a quiet, devastating self-cannibalization happening meal after meal while you assume you are safe. To truly grasp the gravity of this metabolic failure, you must witness how it manifests over time within your own living flesh, not as a collection of dry scientific definitions, but as the raw, heartbreaking reason your legs feel heavy and unresponsive today. This is the progressive timeline of sarcopenia, a slow-motion catastrophe that takes years to unfold, while dropping subtle, easily ignored breadcrumbs along the way. In the first year or two of this silent crisis, your scale tells you a seductive lie. Your body weight remains perfectly stable, and your clothes fit exactly the same. But beneath the surface, your anatomy is being violently reconfigured. Because your muscle cells are locked out from receiving amino acids, a terrifying process called myosteatosis takes root. Microscopic droplets of fat begin infiltrating the deep spaces within your lean skeletal tissue. It is a process identical to the marbling of a cut of beef. Healthy, functional muscle fibers are steadily suffocated and displaced by inert, yellow fat. You feel absolutely no pain. Your routine remains unaltered, and your annual checkups look flawless. You assume you are safe. By year 3 or 4, however, the unremitting theft of functional tissue begins to compromise your structural integrity. You notice you are walking a fraction slower when crossing a busy street, or that your legs feel strangely fatigued by the late afternoon. When navigating a flight of stairs, your hand instinctively reaches for the railing, gripping it with a new, unconscious tightness. You tell yourself it is just a natural consequence of getting older, blaming the weather or a lack of sleep, completely unaware that your body has already surrendered a massive portion of its power grid. By year 5 or 6, the degradation enters a much more aggressive phase. The motor neurons, the delicate electrical wires connecting your nervous system to your legs, begin to wither away because they no longer have enough healthy muscle fibers to plug into. Your reflexes dull, and a deep, unsettling sense of instability creeps into your daily life. Getting up from a deep, soft couch requires a visible mental and physical effort, often necessitating a rock forward or a push off your knees. Your world begins a slow, agonizing contraction. You start declining social invitations or choosing the closest parking spot out of a quiet, unvoiced fear of walking. By year 8, the trap snaps shut. The calf muscles that once carried you effortlessly through life have wasted away into empty, hanging folds of skin. You become entirely dependent on a spouse or a child just to transition from a bed to a chair. Your autonomy completely dissolved. And yet, every single day during that 8-year descent, you ate your meals faithfully, believing you were taking care of yourself, while the system around you simply watched you fade. Halting this catastrophic descent and forcing your body to reconstruct its lost foundation requires a radical departure from generalized advice. It demands a precise, non-negotiable molecular protocol. To shatter the iron wall of anabolic resistance, you must consciously flood your system with a massive wave of nutrition that cannot be ignored. Clinical trials have definitively established that the aging human body requires a minimum of 3 full grams of pure, isolated leucine in a single sitting to breach the leucine threshold and spark the dormant mTOR pathway into action. This cannot be achieved by grazing on small snacks throughout the day. Reaching this therapeutic tipping point means consuming roughly 30 to 35 grams of complete, high-quality protein, such as pasture-raised chicken breast, lean beef, or ultra-pure whey isolate, concentrated into a single deliberate meal. Simultaneously, you must introduce 2 grams of premium high-potency omega-3 fatty acids, rich in EPA and DHA, every single day. These essential lipids embed themselves directly into the rigid, calloused walls of your muscle membranes, melting away the microscopic rust and allowing the leucine key to effortlessly turn the cellular locks. To understand the immense power of this exact protocol, look at the reality of a 75-year-old gentleman named Robert, who came to our attention after losing nearly a quarter of his lower body muscle mass over a painful 5-year period. When he first sought help, his calves were completely hollowed out, and he was forced to endure the profound humiliation of having his wife physically hoist him up the 2 small steps leading into his own home. Rather than exhausting his frail body with grueling, dangerous exercises, we left his physical activity unchanged and completely re-engineered his nutritional architecture. We consolidated his daily protein intake, ensuring his breakfast and lunch hit an uncompromising 3.5 grams of leucine, accompanied by highly concentrated omega-3 capsules taken alongside healthy dietary fats. Within just 4 weeks, Robert noticed a newfound firmness in his thighs when standing. By the 3rd month, his calf circumference had expanded by nearly 2 full centimeters. More importantly, he achieved something he thought was gone forever. He walked down to the neighborhood post office completely unaided, leaving his past limitations behind. His spectacular recovery did not happen because he ate more food. It happened because he finally used the precise biochemical tool required to open the vault. Do not wait for a catastrophic fall to validate the unseen decay happening inside your body. Tonight, when the house is quiet, I urge you to perform a simple, sobering diagnostic test in the privacy of your own home. Find a standard dining chair, sit down completely, and cross your arms firmly over your chest. Now attempt to stand up using only one leg, holding yourself steady for just 3 seconds. If your knee wobbles violently, if your foot slips, or if you find it completely impossible to lift your frame without pushing off with your hands, your fast-twitch muscle fibers, the emergency brakes of your musculoskeletal system, are in a state of advanced hibernation. Next, while sitting, run your hand down the back of your calf. If the tissue feels completely soft, loose, and drapes downward like an empty sleeve, rather than resisting your touch with firm elasticity, Your body has already completed the silent swap of structural muscle for dead fat. When you next sit across from your healthcare provider, do not settle for a vague discussion about aging. Arm yourself with the precise vocabulary of cellular health. Look them in the eye and say, I am entering a stage of life where sarcopenia is a critical threat to my autonomy. I want to actively combat anabolic resistance. What are your thoughts on optimizing my leucine intake and introducing high-density omega-3 fatty acids to protect my skeletal muscle? Presenting your health through the lens of active prevention shifts the dynamic from passive symptom management to aggressive longevity. A physician who truly honors your independence will respect this informed clarity. Your physical body is a beautifully cooperative system, but it demands that you provide the correct blueprints. Do not allow another evening to pass where your cells starve in silence while you wait for a crisis to force your hand. The power to turn the key in those locked cellular vaults rests entirely in the choices you make at your very next meal. As we draw this journey to a close, it is vital to step back and absorb the deeper, transformative truth behind the biological mechanisms we have explored. Your muscle tissue is not merely an anatomical tool designed to move your bones from one room to another. It is the physical currency of your human dignity. It is the literal foundation of your ability to choose where you go, how you live, and how long you can look after yourself without leaning on the charity of others. When we lose our physical strength, our entire universe begins to contract, forcing us into a passive life of watching the world move forward from a window. The ultimate lesson here is a profound shift in perspective. Aging is completely inevitable, but physical decay is an active surrender. We have been conditioned by a reactive culture to believe that slowing down, losing balance, and watching our bodies soften to weakness is a debt we must pay to the passing years. But science reveals that this decay is often just a breakdown in communication between the food we eat and the cells waiting to receive it. Your body has not forgotten how to be strong. It is simply waiting for you to change the language you use to feed it. Applying this deep realization to your current life requires a swift transition from passive awareness to daily, intentional execution. Starting tomorrow, look at every single meal not as a casual pastime, but as a direct biological command to your DNA. Stop grazing on empty carbohydrates or light, fragmented snacks that fail to reach the necessary thresholds for repair. Commit to restructuring your morning and midday meals to guarantee 30 to 35 grams of dense, high-quality protein, effectively hitting that critical 3-gram leucine target that forces the rusted gates of your cells to swing open. Pair this immediately with a clean, high-potency source of omega-3 fatty acids to soften the calloused membranes that time has hardened. Do not wait for a perfect moment, a medical emergency, or a formal diagnosis to take ownership of your physical destiny. The trajectory of your strength over the next 5, 10, or 20 years is being written by the exact nutritional choices you make within the next 24 hours. Treat your muscles as the sacred guardians of your freedom. Give them the exact molecular tools they require, and watch your body cooperate with your spirit once again. To help us all learn from one another and build a stronger community, we would love to hear your personal perspective. Have you noticed your legs feeling heavier or less steady during your normal daily walks or routine activities recently? Please take a moment to politely share your brief thoughts and experiences in the comment section below so everyone can read, compare notes, and benefit from your perspective. If you found this deep dive valuable and want to protect your health with honest, evidence-based truths, please consider subscribing to the channel to support us and give us the motivation to keep creating more high-quality content for you in the future.